Shotgun with Charlie.
Riding shotgun refers to the practice of sitting next to the driver in a moving vehicle. The term riding shotgun came around after the time of the stagecoach, when somebody used to sit next to the driver holding a shotgun, in case they ran into bandits. My name is Charlie Cook, and I drive a lot. I like to talk to people while I'm driving, so I interview people in my car while I'm driving. Welcome to Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this episode of Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Today is going to be an unbelievably fun episode. The people I have with me today are Amanda Suffecool and Rob Campbell. They are a brother and sister team. They have a radio show. This is what I think is really cool. You guys have two radio shows.
Correct.
On two different stations in two different towns?
Yes.
That is way cool. So we're going to talk about that.
Doesn't everybody?
Oh yeah, of course.
It's 5 hours of gun radio. You got to kind of shift it up.
You got to change it up a little bit. Yeah. Awesome. So let's get going. We are actually heading to a gun store. This past weekend, Amanda put Amanda's 501c3?
501c3,
her non-for-profit organization had a concealed carry fashion show this weekend, and she asked me to come out and MC it. So I came out to help MC, and we're in Ohio. We're driving around, and we're going to interview these guys. I was on the radio show, and it was totally cool.
It was so much fun. I mean, because we did the concealed carry fashion show.
A fashion show.
Oh my
gosh.
Fashion. But so it's the fashion show, and did you see that the fashion show made the front page of the paper?
I did not see the paper, but I did see that it was on television.
Oh no, the paper, it was the article you can actually get to by going to ohio.com.
I did see the article.
One of the guys was mooning the whole crowd.
Yeah, I did see that.
Mark, you're going to go straight through, because then we're going to end up in that lane to get on the expressway. So Mark's Tookus was
he was small of back.
his Harry's plumber.
Well, his holster was the small of back, but his
back
really
wasn't so
small.
His back wasn't small.
I sent him a picture with a text, and I said, "Your mother's going to be so proud."
She's so proud. There's my little Mark.
Your ass is on the front page of the paper, and he's like, "Oh my, that will be popular."
That's
You
awesome.
on this Route 8 North.
Route 8 North. Keep right. Okay.
Keep right here. Once you tuck under the thing, you're heading up.
Good.
And they drive like demons, but
They drive.
I think you'll fit right in.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
So the fashion show. So did you see the one on Channel 3 where they were talking about the fashion show?
I did see that one. I did. I put that on my Facebook and tagged people.
And my favorite line of the whole thing. I mean, there was so many favorite moments, but my favorite moment of the whole thing was when they said in their overlay talk, whatever, voiceover, that would be the word, in their voiceover, that it's probably going to be on the Today Show because the whole back of the room was full of cameras.
Yes, I saw that. I'm like, no way.
You missed that. No, we weren't going to be on the Today Show. But
we're going to be on the show today.
That would be it. We will, what we will have, though, is that they're filming an hour-long documentary of the building of the fashion show. So female empowerment through the lens of fashion. And so that kind of a pro-gun, pro-female empowerment fashion show just kind of freaked them out because they had been filming fashion shows across the country, across the world. And this was the first one that they did in the United States.
That's cool. That is way cool.
Yeah.
Way cool.
So that's netted us some kind of cool stuff.
So absolutely. Now when we were going to get memory cards.
Yeah.
Bad producer. When we went to go with memory cards, you were talking about your and this is something I firmly believe in. I've seen it change in my life. Is the I do the grateful list, which you started to do, and keeping yourself in a positive mind about that. And you said you had your list of things that you wanted to do, your dream list, your bucket list, whatever you wanted to call it.
Yeah, so I've been kind of working off of this. I've been looking at where am I at. Listen to me. Where am I at in the universe, and where do I want to be when I grow up? It kind of
right.
It kind of ties together. And most of the time, I say something and I tell him, and then he's like, "Yeah, where's that going to get you?"
Right.
So
I just want to keep it real. I mean, there's no point in walking down some path that's not getting her somewhere.
So
if I keep her focused and just keep whipping her in the face like a little mule, so that she keeps going the direction I think she needs to go in.
I actually hear that quote a lot, where he tells people, "I have the idea, I toss it at her, and then I just whip her a little bit and make her tell her to go, and then I stand back and watch her go." That is how
There's people that are good, the idea people, and they come up with a plan, but they cannot go through with that plan, and I'm that person. But I can show her in my mind's eye what I'm thinking, and then she can go and make that happen.
And then you can whip her into shape.
By myself, I'm a worthless pile of shit. So.
He's stuff. He just is. He will second guess himself, and he'll just go, "Okay, well, what are we doing next?" So we use the pinky and the brain thing. What are we doing next, brain? So I started to take this class about the power of positive thinking and who's holding you back. And the big thing was, who's holding you back? It's you.
Absolutely. Dennis, I say that Dennis doesn't say. He tells me all the time.
I listen to that. And
I know, which is.
I listened to what Dennis said. Say his name, Dennis.
Dennis McCurdy is his name. He's my mentor. He's a good friend of mine. He's my go-to for a lot of stuff.
Watch the Riding Charlie with
Dennis McCurdy.
Yes, Riding Charlie.
Yes,
Riding Charlie. Wait. No, that's a different video. Different.
Still a 3-camera shoot though.
Riding shotgun. Riding shotgun with Charlie with Dennis
McCurdy. Honestly, Dennis was the first person that I interviewed, and I only had 2 cameras at the time.
Okay.
And I didn't. Not that I know what I'm doing now, but I knew less.
You knew less. Okay. So one of the things that he said was that you are as good as the 5 people that are in your inner circle, and it was like, that makes so much sense. And on a technical level, I've got a group of people that are like, I have called them for years the smartest people I know, and I keep them in my circle.
Yeah.
So there's that, and so I've been doing this whole thing about what's holding me back. And it's myself. So I took this class, and they said, make a dream jar. Dream about what you want to do. Don't think about the logistics of it. Don't think about how you're going to do it. Just write it down. And I'm like, I'm an engineer. I'm so literal that it's a box is a box is a box.
Right.
So instead of putting it in a jar, because I can't put it in a jar, I had to put it in a box, truly. I mean, that's how. So I've got this box that I put these dreams in, and I was sitting there and I was like, okay, what do I really want? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, our 501c3, is there to do firearms education, and really it's the vehicle that keeps the radio show on the air, okay? And so really my goal is how do I get exposure to Realize and then to the radio show? That's my end goal. Okay, how do I do that?
Yeah.
So I looked at it and I was like, well, I want to kind of do this, and I'd love to have a sponsor. That would be great.
Yeah.
And I'd love to be. How do I know that I made it? I want to be on Cam and Company, the NRA News. That would be a milestone that says I have accomplished something. There's a milestone step. So early December, I threw it in the box. January 8th, I pulled it out of the box. It just random, here it is, pull it out. And they say, spend 5 minutes thinking about it. Now you're allowed to do the tactical. So think about the tactical. How are you holding yourself up? What could you do? How could you do it? What could be something that you could clear from a roadblock? Okay. Well, I've never been on Cam and Company. I've seen them at big events, and you stand back and you go, ooh,
there's Cam.
There it is. Oh, there's Cam. And you stand back and you try to make yourself small and watch like a mouse. And so I decided that I would reach out to the next 3 people in the industry that are that I made contact with for some reason, any reason. I would then ask them, have you been on Cam and Company? And if so, how? How'd you do it? How'd you get there? What was your plan? And so I did. I asked one person, and they're like, got me. never been, never know. I don't know anybody.
Right.
Asked the second person, got the same kind of answer. Asked the third person, and they're like, no, I haven't. But Laura has, and you know Laura. I was like, I know Laura. I met Laura at the Gun Rights Policy Conference. Okay. So I reached out to Laura, and I was like, hey, I hear you've been on Cam & Company. So this is what I did that day in my 5 minutes. Was the first was decide the list, and then the second was, okay. So now then, when I talked to Paul, he connected me with Laura. I reached out to Laura, and I said, you know, you've done this, so tell me how. What's my chances? How do I do it? What do I do? You know, how's this work? She's like, how about I do an introduction? I'm like, how about you do? Because woohoo! So she did, and nothing happened. That was January. So that was January 8th to like January 20th. Nothing happened.
Right.
So I put it back in the box, and then we had the fashion show. The next day, I was feeling so high on all the stuff that had happened and how it was so good that I pulled out 2 things to think about, because, you know. And one of them was Cam & Company.
Cool.
I was like, I'm going to reach back out to the email that she sent and say, here's the press that we got, and see what happens. I did. They called me, and I was on Cam & Company that day.
That is incredible.
That day.
That is so cool.
So there's my story. How cool is that story?
That is a great story. It is. It's when you talk about the whole throw it out to the universe. I had one of those experiences myself. The way things happened for me is I started doing the gungrams, and I did one for Lee Michaels in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And Lee is a radio guy. He's actually bizarre of bizarre. He's married to a girl I was friends with 20 years ago, where I grew up south of Chicago. She went to Minneapolis. I ended up going back to Boston. We get reconnected on Facebook. She's like, oh, my husband's a gun guy. I'm like, you know, I'd like to teach a gun class everywhere. And let's see how we can do that. And then nothing became of it. And then the gungrams led to Lee asking me, hey, would you do one for Ashton's birthday? Sure. And then he's like, would you do one? Ashton called me. She's like, would you do one for Lee's birthday? And then Lee's like, would you do one for my daughter's birthday?
Cool.
So Lee, being a radio guy, he sometimes sits in for Mark Walters on Armed American Radio. And Lee, that led to Lee's like, hey, I'm gonna co-host for Mark while he's out. You want to come on and talk about gungrams? Yeah, I do. Cool. So I did that a couple times. Then I asked Lee, I'm like, you know what, I had this idea for riding shotgun with Charlie. I was in Dennis's office talking with some of my Toastmasters, and I said, I spend a lot of time driving in my car, and my son actually gets relaxed when we're in the car, and I can talk to him. So he doesn't have to look at me, and I don't have to look at him, and that's fine. So I said, what if I interviewed people in my car, like the carpool karaoke? And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to call it riding shotgun.
In this lane?
Yeah, we want to go to 480 eventually west.
480 west.
Keep following 271 to 480.
All right. So I said I could call it riding shotgun, and then that was already taken. So I'm like, I'm going to call it riding shotgun with Charlie.
Because it's Charlie.
Because I'm driving and they're riding shotgun.
Yeah.
And that led me to, I called Lee and I said, hey, I want to come out to Minneapolis. And Lee's like, come on down. At the end, for the Minnesota State Fair, Mark Walters will be here. You can interview him. And then Mark was like, dude, this is a great idea.
Yeah.
And then he's like, a week later, he's like, you want to come down to the GRPC and talk? Yes, I do. And then that led everything else to opening up. So after the GRPC, I had this crazy idea. I'm like, you know what? One of my 2017 goals is I want to travel once a month for riding shotgun with Charlie.
And you told me that at the GRPC.
I told you at the GRPC.
Put it out there in the university.
I put it out there. In January, I went to the SHOT Show in Vegas. I didn't interview anyone, but I got a boatload of connections.
Yes.
This month, we're doing this one outside of Cleveland, and yesterday I interviewed Marcus Weldon in Detroit.
So you're on track now.
And I've got, I am. I think I'm going to reach out to somebody. I don't know if you remember, oh my gosh, Jeannie Jennings?
I was going to say, you don't remember her, so I can't remember her. No.
Jeannie Jennings, she writes for Women in Guns magazine, and she said she's in Maine, but she was spending, I met her at the GRPC.
Okay.
And she said she was going to be in California for a while. And I messaged her a while ago. I'm like, all right, I got March open.
Yeah.
And I messaged her. She's like, well, I'm going to be in Maine in March. I'm like, oh, all right, we need to make this happen.
Yeah.
In April, I'm planning on going to the NRA annual meetings in Atlanta. And actually, either I can rent a car and connect with somebody there, or make another boatload of connections. So.
I was actually thinking about that, and I would think that since you are doing that, I would reach out to Clover, because I'm sure she will be there, and she kind of, because I think this is Clover Lawson and Palmer, and I think that Clover Lawson, I think her partner, Chris Palmer, is in Atlanta, and she's in something in Florida in the Panhandle.
Right.
So I think that so it may be that you can do the 2-time in
that would be cool.
Lawson Palmer combo.
That would be wicked cool.
You're going to have to figure this out, because the other one is another 2-person team, and that would be Juliana Crowder and Robin Sandoval.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And they'll be there.
That'll be cool. This is the first time
You're going to try to figure out how this works.
This is the first time I have 2 people.
The 2 people. Yeah.
We talked about using Rob's truck that has the bench seat.
Right, but then you're kind of like,
sliding all over the place.
Where you're telling about how you got on Cam & Company, you probably need some kind of disclaimer that says that results are not typical.
You don't know. He sits back, and I'm like, I call him, and I'm like, he's like, what do you need? Because obviously that's his shorthand for I'm really busy. I was like, I just want to tell you, woohoo, I'm on Cam & Company. He's like, okay.
Who, you got me?
I called him.
Oh, okay.
So I called him. I didn't call you first. I called him first. You were third.
I was third.
You were third.
Hey,
it had to be my business partner, then my husband, then Charlie. Because Charlie, the power of positive thinking.
Oh my God, I totally love it.
So,
totally love it.
So
That's too cool. Cool. All right. So you guys, that's what you guys do. You get the Realize Firearm Awareness Coalition. How long has that been around?
Actually, the radio show was before the Firearms Coalition started. So, and the training was before that. So
we've been doing training since 2003, basically.
Yeah, 2003.
Oh, cool.
And then we got on the radio about 5 years. Well, last September was 5 years ago.
Well, let's start with the training story, because the training story really tells how Pinky and the Brain works. Okay? I mean, it really is the dynamic for how Pinky and the Brain works. I was the plant manager for a company that built sunrooms and solariums and all kinds of things. And one manufacturing facility, 3 huge buildings, and we had assembly and install locations in 46 sales locations across the country. So I was a big deal. Okay? Not to blow my own horn, because I'm not musical at all, but then the company had this big turmoil, and they fired the president, and then they started and they cleaned out everybody at the vice presidential level, everybody at the management level. They just took them all out. And so over the course of like 6 months, you're sitting there, and it was like you're in a shooting gallery, and bing, there goes this partner, bing, there goes that one, and you're the last guy standing, and you still have this structure that says, I got to make it work. And so you're working harder and harder and faster and faster and faster until the day they come for you.
Right.
And the day they came for me, I was actually pretty relieved. Yeah. And I had expected it to a point where I had this giant box, and everything that was in my office went in the box, and I made the other guy carry it. So it was my getting back to him was he had to walk with this huge box.
You can only take me out of the office if you take my box.
You're carrying it. I'm okay. You're escorting me out, but carry it. And I'm an engineer, so do you know how many textbooks were in this box?
Right.
It's a giant box.
And an anvil and a couple pieces of Waldman that looked like it was something that you needed.
Whatever I could haul in and put in there. Let me load this up. So the week afterwards, I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. At that point, I was just shy of 40 years old, and not that you could tell, but I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And he looked at me, and so he said, I'm part of the Fairs and Festivals Committee, and I'm going to Circleville to the Pumpkin Festival and a meeting. You want to go? Right?
Sure,
So
what else do I have to do?
Yeah.
I've already washed my hair today.
Let me ride, 200 miles to go look at pumpkins, because I got nothing better to do, right?
But we had a good time, and we went to Long John Silver's for dinner and everything. So it was
that is a good time.
We're very lunch oriented.
Exactly.
But
Very lunch oriented.
in the meantime, she's like, if you got to work, but you don't really have to work, what would you do? Like,
right?
You're sitting there at 40 years old with a new career opportunity. You can do the same thing or different. You can do anything. What do you want to do? So.
And I'm like, well, the concealed carry handgun licensing was right on the horizon. I mean, they had been voting on it over and over again. And it looked like it was going to happen right then. And so we talked about it. So we went to Michigan and got our...
Well, you missed a part, because he was like, I think we ought to do this. And I'm like, there's no money in that. And he's like, no. And I'm like, no, there's no money in that. He's like, no, I think you're wrong. So I sat down in my speedy mode and I wrote a business plan.
Wow.
And then I was like, damn it, there's money in that.
There is money in this.
Yeah, the problem with the whole industry is that we say there's no money in that, and then we self-prophesize by not charging anything. If anything, we'll pay for you to come and shoot our guns and shoot our bullets. Come to the range with us. We'll buy you lunch. We'll pick you up at your house.
And when you're all done, you make $5 an hour.
Or less.
Or less. Yeah.
But in reality, people pay big money to go paintballing and parasailing and all this stuff.
In the gun industry, I think people have been shamed into this thing, well, you have to do it for the Second Amendment. And it's sort of this...
That's an interesting point, because people pass things on, and a lot of people, I'm sure this is how you guys got into this. Your father passes down to your guys. Mm-hmm. I didn't have that. My dad died when I was young. When I got into shooting, it was a fluke. Mm-hmm. It was pretty much very much a fluke. And when I got into it, I knew nothing about it. And I told my mom that I was into shooting, and she's like, your dad had a couple guns. Why don't you come out here and get them? Do we have guns in the house? I had no idea. No clue.
Imagine that.
Right. I think I do remember reaching under the couch at my grandpa's house and feeling a gun. So I'm like, holy crap, I think that's a gun. And that's
gonna get me.
Right. So it wasn't something like that was passed down through the family for me. I mean, I'm working on that now with my kids, of course, but I had to start from scratch. And I'm one of these guys. I'm an NRA instructor and all that. So the mind is the weapon. Everything else is a tool.
Right.
So it was weird. It was weird for me to be reading the scripts the other day. They're like, you can carry your handgun or your weapon.
Think about it. The whole industry is moving towards this. We've had years and years of no families that went shooting together, and if anything, Dad had a gun, he kept it in the dresser in case the burglar came in.
Right.
But they didn't go out on Sunday afternoon and shoot the gun or anything.
Absolutely.
And so where do these people get this training? What kind of things are available to them?
Dirty Harry.
I play a video game. I know everything.
I watched Die Hard 40 times. I know everything.
I'm sorry, you guys are guys. But you can drive a stick shift. You have a penis. You can drive a stick shift and shoot a gun. It's just.
It comes with the plumbing.
It comes, yeah. I swear, that's the belief.
But it's the kind of thing that we're getting to where there's more women into it, more families into it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of games out there. It's a guns involved. It's hard to call it a game, but it's a
USPSA, IDPA, 3-gun, 2-gun. All of those are fabulous for the industry.
Right. Trap shooting is a very interesting game. The average person can do it. It's not really strenuous. It's relaxing, and if you get a couple of friends together, it's kind of like bowling with shotguns, and you have a great time.
Right.
So it's a great family sport, but we don't know nothing about it. So a lot of people don't want to get into something like this because they're afraid to look like a dummy. Mm-hmm. Right. Another part of it is
get in their own way.
Where do you get your training or something without looking like you don't know anything?
Right.
So, I mean, some of this, like I tell her with this, realize that instead of being the guy standing in front of the class saying, now class, this is what's going on, you need to be the guy who's in front of the trainer giving them something.
Rah.
Whether it's books on shotgun for dummies, little videos that show you how to trap shoot or skeet shoot or something.
This is where Realize is going. Realize is going to do the education portion, and I think we're going to start writing some manuals.
Wow, that's awesome.
We decided. Actually, this is breaking news.
I got breaking news yesterday with Marcus. I got breaking news with Amanda and Rob. I love this.
Yeah, this is great. We decided last night where we were going and how we were going forward, and what the first three vehicles are to do that.
You can reach 15 people in class, or you can reach 150 instructors who are all reaching 15 people in class. So which way are you getting the more bang for your
our
buck?
charter? Our charter is gun education, gun safety. Sharing the message.
And it isn't like we got to be there with the rah thing. We just need to make sure that this gets out there and it helps our industry grow in a positive manner instead of Dirty Harry and the
John
whatever they're showing you on the Chicago News at night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, I've got lots of guns that they have never plotted against me. They don't do anything funny. It's not that like they tell you in the news and the reality TV shows.
I just had a great idea.
What?
You guys all saw Toy Story?
Yeah.
What if we had Gun Story? Will all the guns come alive while we're not home?
Oh my.
Well,
I would think that would be bad.
It would be bad. But what if they don't do anything? They just hang out.
They just hang out. They dance.
Right. They dance. They target shoot. They drive around. They play war.
One of them tries to learn how to play a trumpet.
Right.
I'm so an engineer. I can't draw cartoons, so my mind is like, mine would sit at a little desk, holding a pencil.
Talk about shooting your mouth off, though. That blows the mouthpiece off of its trumpet every time.
Whoops. Sorry. Happened again.
Every time your Glock purses its lips, it blows the trumpet apart.
Yeah.
Right. Writing a book, writing a manual, that's an awesome idea, because you could have sold one to everybody at the fashion show.
Well, there's some of that, and there's some opportunities. I think that's kind of where we're going.
Awesome.
I really think it is. So so let's go back. So this is how we got started with the training part, and then we started doing training, and about a year into it, we were training at a range when the guy at the range said, "Hey, you guys are training here, and I like you best because there's all these people training here. I like you best, and I've got this building, and why don't you open a gun shop?"
So we looked at each other and thought, sure.
Okay.
So I cleaned out a closet and dug under the bed.
Cleaned out a closet.
We had enough stuff to stock our gun shop for the first week.
We did. But first we decided what we were going to do is we were going to get the FFL, and we were actually going to open it kind of like a consignment store.
Oh, okay.
That we would have 2 or 3 different groups of people that stock like a hallway of this and do it. So we signed on based on that, and everybody else flaked out. And then all of a sudden we're standing there going, okay, well, we have opening day. What are we going to do? Start finding some stuff. Wow. And so we did. And we ran the gun shop for, 14, 15 years?
Yeah, for a little over 14 years. And the thing is because we have such weird, bizarre taste in things.
What are we doing up here?
Let's see.
91 North Express.
We probably missed where we want to go.
You're supposed to be guiding him.
I was talking.
Dude, I have no idea where I'm going except for this way.
You just don't go in the express then, because the local lanes will give us some opportunity.
That will turn.
Opportunity to go the right way.
Potentially, I'm going to map it and see if
these guys are low. I just want to say this. This is where these people are from.
No,
I've been living on my GPS for the last 4 days.
This is.
We're talking that way. Since you're driving, we're off duty.
That's great.
That's the deal.
This is living with Rob. This is my reality right there.
When we get to the lake, we'd figure something was wrong.
Right, turn left.
Everything is not his fault. It's like, oh, sure. Because he's so laissez-faire, that, that's okay. I'm like, Rob, we just lost $100. That's okay, we'll get more. I'm like, no, it doesn't work that way. So, I will handle this. You keep talking. Because I can't type and talk.
Well, there's no sense in you having a heart attack about it. It's
not life-threatening.
We just go on with our stuff and things realign
obviously
themselves.
That's not right, because it wants to take us to, that's not going to work.
So, if we get up here, I don't know, Miles or something will cut across, we can always...
We just cross Miles, I think.
There's, Chagrin Boulevard will take us to the... If we head west, just go over and get off on Chagrin, and then head west on that.
You're 19 miles away from where you want to go.
Okay.
Of course, come to worst, you can always turn around and go back down.
Yeah, we got to. It tells us to go back to 480.
So anyhow, now that we're lost, it gives us more time to talk.
Right. Good thing we got the big memory card.
Exit 29. Get off at Chigrel.
Then turn left.
So
It's going to get us off, get us back on.
Gotcha.
Then you're going to look for 480 west.
For 480 west.
Don't
Right.
trust him. Just saying. Just so many levels of don't trust him.
You should see me in St. Louis or somewhere where I have no idea where I'm going.
Because then he acts like he does. I'm just saying.
Again, he's a guy.
Yeah.
You start heading in that general direction, and all of a sudden, wow,
We'll
we're here.
figure something out. That's how it functions. It's craziness.
Awesome.
So yeah. Okay, so then we had the gun shop.
Yep,
and
you had
then
the gun shop for 14 years. You guys still have it?
No, we don't have it. The landlord, I loved him. He was this crusty little old Slovenian guy. I mean, truly crusty with the fact that I'm the boss here. And he would talk to me like, girly, I like you, girly, because you're smart. You're one smart cookie, girly. But don't cross me. But don't cross me. And that was kind of, but it's my way or the highway. It's how he was. But you knew how he was. He was dependable. He was crusty. And, you kind of...
And what he said was written in iron. I mean, that was the thing. There was no going back on. You didn't have to worry about that he was going to waffle on it or something.
Right.
But
and then he...
Whoops.
I don't know how you're going to get there.
Yeah, I did this last night.
It didn't show us, so we got to go down, pull into something, and then...
yeah, because that road that comes in at an angle brings you in, because I just put a baseball field in up here last summer.
Yeah.
So...
Okay. So he died, and then we get his son.
Well, this is that city part you wanted to put that other camera in to give you all the... We'll go right by
Wait, this is the city part.
But we're going to turn
right
around.
up here is one of the biggest Porsche dealers in the country.
Oh, that's cool.
Right there. That's it. Yeah.
Yep. If you want a special Porsche, they fly in to Cleveland to come to this Porsche dealer.
Wow.
So.
All right, so we got to make a U here?
Yep.
All right.
So the son, let's just say, not so dependable, not so good at his word, not a businessman.
Skips a generation?
Oh, it's just... So there was...
And he has no vision of the future.
None.
The old way that they did it was the best way to do it, and there's no changing,
not even
no
that.
thinking.
Then he would have these ideas. They just kind of were like, that doesn't make any sense. And then he got to the point where he would tell us when we could be open, when we had to be closed, what we had to do, what we could charge. This was our business, and he's telling us, yet I'm paying rent.
Right.
And then he told me we have no option, but to do what he said we had to do. And I'm like, well, we have an option.
So stay in this lane and go around the corner.
Yeah, we have an option, and the option involved us just packing up our stuff, having a big old auction, and walking away.
No, it's a complete sentence.
I'll pay attention on the second pass here.
You're not my dad, you're not my mom, you can't tell me what to do, and you can't tell me how to spend our money.
Right.
So it was less trouble not to have the business than it was to have. So he was like, sure. Then he went around trying to find all the other gun shops in the area to see if they would come in. He's still sitting empty because all of them said, well, no, we were friends with Rob and Amanda. We worked with Rob and Amanda, and we saw how you treated them. So, no. So, yeah, he's...
That's the thing. As part of Realize, we do
appraisal fair.
Appraisal fair, yeah. All I can think of is fashion show, and that...
We did that, too.
We did that, too, but this appraisal fair is even better because we get 5, 6, 7 different gun shops in the
all
area.
Working together.
And specialty collectors like in uniforms and blades and stuff like this, and they come down and set up at the VFW hall, and you can bring your stuff in, and there's no buying or selling goes on, but they'll give you an honest opinion of what your stuff is, and then
you could go to all 7 of them if you want to, so that you're sure that it's an honest opinion.
You get
this way, if one guy gives you a really high price and the other gives you a low price, you can ask what the difference is.
What you think or what you're seeing.
And there's no pressure to sell or that they're trying to lowball you into something.
If they want to make you an offer, then they can hand you the card. So he wants 480 West.
Got it.
So if they want to make you an offer, they'll hand you a card and say, come into the shop. Then so there's no pressure, and then you can do that if you want.
Gotcha.
So we've been doing that for...
This has got to be 4 or 5 years now.
And it's gone hugely popular.
Cool.
And as a gun guy, it's cool some of the stuff you see people drag into the
first generation Colts. We got a Winchester thumb trigger 22. If you've never seen one of those, you gotta Google it. Tell them what it is, because
it's Winchester in the 1890s, early 1900s. They made these small boys rifles. They were a little bolt action single shot, and this one model they made, it didn't have a trigger. The bottom of there was no cut for the trigger, no trigger guard or anything. The trigger is underneath the cocking piece. So you cocked it manually, and then you had to push that down with your thumb to shoot it.
So the bottom of the gun is smooth like Shamu's belly.
Wow.
I mean, you look at it, it's
kind of a funny looking gun when you see it, but it doesn't have a hole for a trigger, doesn't have the trigger guard or any of that stuff, and you push down with your thumb. They didn't sell very well because they were so funny looking, and so now they're quite collectible.
We've seen two. I've seen two in my lifetime. There's so many. Most books, when you look at them, they have a pencil sketch because they have not seen one for a picture.
It's so rare that they don't really have one to take a picture of.
Oh my gosh.
So, but there was a guy come in and it had some kind of a German Eagle rifle or something they called it. It was a huge, it looked like it was a 12-gauge slug gun, but it had octagon barrel and you could see it had some like Swiss target type influence on it. But he said that when he was a kid, his uncle got home from World War II, and then his grandma didn't have a use for it, so they left it out in the yard for a couple of weeks, and he decided that if they were going to abuse it, he'd just take it home. So he's had it for years. But I had never seen one of them before. But it was a single shot and like a 70 caliber.
So you get an opportunity to see stuff that is really, really cool. We had a gal who came in and she said, my dad died and there were guns, and so I got part of them and my brother got part of them, but my brother got to pick first.
He got the good stuff.
He went through and he got the good stuff. So he took all Dad's new stuff and I got all this.
I got all the old crap.
Tell me where can I get rid of this, because I have all this and it's kind of crusty and rusty.
Well, once I told her about it, she decided she wasn't getting rid of it. But she had an extremely rare Winchester Model 42 trap gun that the 42 is a 410 pump gun.
No matter the condition.
They only made about 350 of these things, so they're extremely rare, and this was one of them. And it did have some rust spots from sitting in the basement or something over the years, but it was still a super gun that you just don't see. Wow. Then the other one she had was an engraved Beretta 380 in the standard World War II pattern style Beretta, but this one was actually...
Do you know where the Parma Armory is?
It's on Hauserman Street.
Okay, I don't know. So wouldn't you can get us to that part? Not to distract you, but I don't want him to drive past it again going the other way.
Right, you get some...
I'll find this quick, but...
Yeah, find it, and then we'll know. But yeah. So, okay, I just want to make sure that somebody's tracking
where we're going.
That, because we'd get distracted, easily distracted.
But yeah, the little Beretta that she had was actually...
Squirrel!
Right.
The
fire truck.
The VFW though is so willing to work with us in doing this because they have a charter of good things to do. Okay, is it going to talk or not? Okay, we're good.
I might have the sound turned down. So.
I'm good with that. I just want a picture. So they're willing to do it because their charter is also, they have a not-for-profit and they need to do some good community good works. And so partnering with us, our charter is public education about guns and firearms, and they need to do a public good works, and so they have realized that they can use Pinky in the Brain by just saying, here, have my building, and we'll stand back.
When the first year we used it, they said, we have some guns we'd like to know something about too.
Will you come in and do it?
So I went in and showed them what they had in the way of guns.
It was cute. But we have a lot of people who look forward to it, and we have a lot of people who come as vendors. They just are, okay, this is what they're going to do to get their name out. So it allows them to advertise
you
also.
You get a chance to hand your card out and meet people and stuff. And
that's what it's about.
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. So that's some of what Realize does.
I guess we are the the gun buyback program, right?
I want to educate them.
Trade us the $1,000 Luger for a $100 gas card.
Right, then find out how much it gets screwed at a gun.
Yeah, I want to tell them. We had some woman who called in the radio show, and she said, my husband died, and I had grandkids around, and I didn't want the guns in the house, so I called the police to say, I have these guns, how can I get rid of them? And admittedly, it was how she worded the question. But what she said is, how can I get rid of them? Where can I get rid of them? And they said, you can bring them here. So she did. And that's part of what we want to avoid. I mean, nothing against the police. She asked a question. She agreed to give them to them. There's that.
But this is part of your inheritance, and a lot of times
she didn't know anything about it.
They could definitely use the money for it. And when your husband said, "I bought this off my buddy for $200," don't necessarily believe it.
Well, and the other part is the widow vultures just make me angry. That somebody dies and then somebody comes in. I was a friend of Frankie's, and so let me help you. Yeah, and he just bought the first 5 guns that he saw in there. Yeah, no, he knew exactly what he was buying. Then you've just been taken to the cleaners. Mm-hmm. I don't want that to happen. If you want to give it to him, sell it to him, you want him to have something that reminds him of his friend, I'm good with that. But a knowledgeable decision.
Yeah.
Make an informed decision, and then you can be as generous as you want to be.
There was if you get a gun that belonged to a friend of yours and a hand down deal,
it means a lot of things. Yeah.
That's a special spot at that point.
Yeah.
But
I have guns that someone has given me. I mean,
how good do you feel if you know that you took Frankie's widow for a ride to get Frankie's guns?
But
those have to come with a little black cloud over them, justifiably so.
But if down the road Frankie's widow calls you and says, "Frank wants you to have this,"
that's a different story.
So, or if Frank gives it to you before something happens.
That's a different story too.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys have seen that meme that says, "When I die, tell my wife what my guns are really worth."
Yeah, I wondered. What I paid for them, not for what I told her that I sold them for.
We always tell people to write a little note about it. Now the video cameras are so easy; they should actually show the gun, tell a little bit about it, and who they know that might give them the best
or
deal
why it has value,
what's
if there's provenance to it.
Cool
because
idea.
if this guy already has done the homework on it, so he knows if the gun is famous or if it's valuable or something, instead of them having to try to find out why did they have this gun over the other style stuff.
Yeah, in that really is. I mean, I tell my students, not a 3-ring binder, but kind of I can keep a bound book myself.
Right.
With here's my gun, here's what serial number, here's what I've got, here's what's special about it, and then on the back of that page. So if I ever have to photocopy it for the police if they stole it or it's missing or something, the dollar value stuff is on the back side.
That's
so
cool.
I've got one sheet of paper for every book, or for every gun. One sheet of paper for every gun in there, and then you've got an idea of what you've got and what.
Nothing. It's just funny. My wife, we had the gun shop for years, and she would call on the phone or something and say, "Well, this shotgun or something, what is it?" And I'm like, "Well, who'd we get it from?" So she could tell me, and I could remember from that description more about the gun than the gun itself. Mm-hmm. So it was.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. He'd be like, "Go to the shelf. It's the 4th one down, and it should look like this, and it's got the bondwood."
She could say, "We got that from John," and I'm like, "Well, okay, that's this one here."
And the gun shop, we had 300 or 400 guns.
We tried to keep 200 long guns and at least 60 handguns in stock all the time.
Awesome.
And so sometimes we had a lot more than that.
A lot more. Sometimes we did, stock back up. But yeah.
Very cool.
So,
oh my gosh, you guys got it all. You guys, this is what I dig. You guys got it all going on. You got the gun store, you got the training. Rob's got all the history knowledge.
Oh my God, he's like, I told him Carmack the Magnificent all the time.
I got into this because she says we'll get to play with guns and shoot a lot. We shoot less than we ever did.
Oh my God!
And we're so busy doing other things that shooting is not the actual.
I know what you do. I got into teaching gun classes, being a teacher for 20 years. Obviously, I'm one of these guys, as soon as I learn how to do something, I'm like, oh, I can teach somebody this, and I can maybe make a couple of bucks.
Yeah.
So, getting into guns after a few years, learning a little bit about it, going to these, volunteering some time to teach it, some volunteer things, get a little experience doing that. Mm-hmm. And so eventually, one of my buddies is like, hey, he's with the Gun Owners Action League. He's like, why don't you become an instructor? So I became an instructor, and then I'm like, what do I do now?
What do I do now?
Right. So I'm like, you know what? I need to teach a couple of students. so I can feel like a cool instructor, and I can support my shooting habit by teaching classes.
Yeah.
And my budget was so tight at the beginning, back when my kids were really young.
That's part of that where you don't charge enough for your services.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So what money you do have, you spend on training for someone else, and not on shooting on your own terms.
Exactly. I charge $150 for an 8-hour class, and then I would, easily spend $35 on ammo, and then whatever, $10 on material and stuff. And
how much of that went to range fees and?
Well, I have a membership to the range, so I just pay the yearly thing, and we can go as many times as we want. And we used to have to give them like $10 for every student that we brought in, and had to put them on the insurance policy and stuff.
Yeah.
But then too, as an instructor, you got insurance and other things that you got to deal with, and a phone book ad and all that.
All the other stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Crazy.
Yeah, it's. These are honestly, none of that stuff is anything I thought of when I got into it. I got into it because
that's where you need that's why I wrote the business plan.
Right.
I did all that.
Right. I was like, oh, let's do it. It'll be fun. I can get out of the house. I can go play guns. I get a chance to go shooting.
Yeah, no.
And now, literally, people are like, so how can you shoot? I'm like, well, I make, depends on how many videos I have to do.
Yeah. I shoot.
I shoot when I have to make videos, and that's about it.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm looking at putting a range in at the house, I think.
Nice.
So that's my
next thing. Class, and the last thing I'm gonna do is sit there and show off.
So you don't shoot in front of a student.
Right.
We really don't.
One or two shots only, just to prove the point that it can be done.
We can demonstrate something, but we really don't. I mean, we've been in classes with the whole look at me instructor, and it's like, sorry, buddy, put your snorkel away and show me how to do this, because it's not about who's got the biggest one to throw on the table.
Right. We do this point shooting drill, and one time this lady's like, there's no way anybody can do that. So I pull my gun out. I'm like, you put your finger on the side of the gun in line with your bore, and you point at the target, and then you think you're the bullet, and you're going to that bullseye, and you just feng shui it right in there. And I pulled the trigger and shot a perfect bullseye.
Nice.
I probably could have shot 900 more shots and never hit a bullseye again.
Right.
But then he puts it in.
You know what? That's the only one that counts.
Yeah. I holstered it, and that was it. That was my shooting for the week.
Yeah. It's interesting. I try to do this when I do take people and do live firing. I try to put up, we go for the fundamentals. We shoot 22s, 38s, and 9s, and then I'll put up a fresh target and try to get them to get a bullseye.
Okay, it says 0.6 mile west 130th Street.
All right. I try to get a fresh target with a bullseye for them for
them to take home.
Yeah, for a souvenir.
Okay.
Where are we going?
West 130th.
130th Street. Okay. So I try to do that. It always is weird to. I don't want to say it's weird to shoot for students, but sometimes you have to, and literally I'm like, okay, front side, squeeze the trigger. Front side,
don't mess up.
Front side, squeeze the trigger. And I had a cop call me a couple years ago. I had a gentleman call me a couple years ago, and he ended up being a SWAT officer, and he's like, I've been a cop for 15 years. I'm not really a gun guy. I learned how to shoot in the academy, and I only shoot twice a year when I have to qualify.
So now I'm SWAT, so I got to be
right.
good.
And I didn't do very well on my qualifications, so. Can you teach me the fundamentals? And I'm like, you know what, dude? I'm a band teacher. I teach hot cross buns all day long. All I do are fundamentals. All I do are fundamentals, man. So I got him to the range, and he's shooting low and to the left all the time. So I did the ball and dummy trick, and lo and behold, he's anticipating and pushing the gun down before it fires. So I did that a few times with him, and he's like, yeah, I don't know if that's right. He's like, would you mind trying my gun? Cop gives you his duty gun, says, would you mind shooting my MP45?
Would you shoot my gun?
Yeah. He's like, okay. I said 3 bullseyes. There you go, man. Front sight. I'm done. I can't do that again. But it was great. I like a gun I never fired before. Front sight, squeeze. Front sight.
One of the things that Rob and I do when we do get a chance to shoot is we typically try to just take blank paper and just put the target paster, just a dot.
Oh, a little sticker, yeah.
We just put the dot, and the goal is, can you shoot the dot through the hole? Mm-hmm. So if you're successful, you can shoot the dot once, twice, and it sucks through the hole when it's gone.
There we go.
That's kind of where you're going. So let's see. It says in 1/10 of a mile, you're turning on 17 Brook Park. So I think it might be this road.
Which way you want to go, left or right?
All right.
Yeah, Rob and I, neither one of us can, in an emergency, tell you right from our left. It's a genetic thing.
We got other things going on in our head besides right and left hand.
If somebody asks me, I'm like, wait, I can think about it for a second. I don't know instinctively. Isn't that the funniest? I can calculate trig in my head.
I can teach you how to weld aluminum, but I can't.
Left or right? I told my band students, I say, I was so stupid when I was a kid, I had to put TGIF on my shoes. And they're like, TGIF? Thank God it's Friday? I'm like, no, toes go in first.
Like, really?
They're like, you can't put your... You have to put your toes...
Yeah, exactly. Right. You're getting it. Now you're supposed to laugh. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but when you have to prompt them for laughing,
it's not effective. Right.
Not
effective.
So then what happened for us as we were going along is that Rob went to buy some advertising on the radio for the concealed carry law. It said that the concealed carry law was passing. We decided, okay, we want to have some advertising. So he went down to the radio station.
Talked to them, and then that evening I got a call from the night guy, and he wanted us to come on for an hour and talk about the new law and stuff. So I'm like, sure, we'll come down.
He calls me. I'm at work, and he's like,
what are you doing tonight?
You need to get to Kent, and you need to get there by 7 o'clock, and we're going to be on the radio. I'm like, I don't have...
hello?
What? Huh? What? What?
So, anyhow, our 1 hour turned into the guy's
3.
whole show.
Yeah, we were there for 3. Because people just kept calling, and they kept asking questions,
That's awesome.
And we were there. So...
That is way cool.
You're going to want in the south side lane, because I know we're turning south eventually.
Yes,
we are. So, 1.1
miles.
Right or left?
South is...
Dude, I am all discombobulated.
To the right is south, and we're going to turn in 1.1 miles.
Cool.
Onto Tiedemann.
This is a Chevrolet plant, the Parma plant, in case you care. It's a sightseeing tour.
I was...
I know the guy who ran Anchorage Will and Die. He now runs a motorcycle windshield company.
Years ago, I used to work up here, and I had to go there, and they had the car from the Ghostbusters, that ambulance was in there. They were doing something to it. I don't know what, but they had it in the shop.
Cool.
Interesting.
It's like, wow, you don't see that every day.
So after we were on the radio for the 3 hours, about 6 months later, they called us and they said, hey, we've got this opportunity for a 1 hour a month radio show.
No, we actually went to them because we wanted...
Wait. Oh, yeah.
The National Shooting Sport Foundation had this thing where they were going to give out a grant if you could figure a way to draw more people either into the sports, or if you could get them to change discipline. And I talked to her and I said, well, the only way to do that is the radio, because you can't get them to come into your gun shop
if they don't know it exists,
because they're not gun people yet.
Right.
So we filled out the grant, and in the meantime I went to the radio to see what it costs and stuff, and they at the time they didn't have any spots available, but they told us what the hourly rate was. So then all of a sudden a spot opened up, and it was one time per month, like, what was it, 5 o'clock? 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. And so we thought, such a good idea, we decided we would do it.
Oh, by the way, the NSSF was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, nobody's going to listen to that.
Now it's 5 hours a week.
So we went and got some advertisers, and we went on the air. And our first show was, if you could go back to the podcast and listen to it, it's comical as can be. You can listen to the early shows. So if you go, archives, and then you can go backwards. This is our road.
Road return on?
Tiedemann, yes.
Okay.
So anyhow, we went there with enough paperwork. We could have stayed on the air for 3 months.
And they gave us...
we didn't know how much stuff it was going to go through in an hour.
And it's not like the format that there is now, where you were in the studio with us and Aaron's sitting there just to... The studio wants to have somebody who is there to push the red button if somebody says any of the FCC words, anti-FCC words. So... in the show we were doing, it was called Advice Line, and as part of Advice Line, they would put in, where was I going? They called it Advice Line, but it's a pay to play. But so they would put a guy whose whole job was to gather information out of you and make it sound interesting. So we took this whole big list of stuff because we didn't know how fast we would go through it. Well, we took it as we've got potential.
Yeah.
He took it as this is his
bit of
list.
Oh my
and so
gosh.
it was like speed racer.
Speed round.
That's
Zoom,
crazy.
zoom, zoom. We went from one topic to the next.
It was pretty cool.
Cool.
So and then it got better as time went on. We were like, okay, no, we'll
We can
cover.
do this.
Let's just cover one of
So
these.
we went from September to January. In January, they said they had an opening for a weekly show.
every week.
Oh, cool.
So
So
we only
we-
did 4 1-month shows, and then we went to weekly.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Look at you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, we need to wrap this up because we are where we need to be. And we, let's do this again. I think we have more space, so we might be able to
Okay.
talk some more. Awesome.
Okay.
So I want to thank Rob and Amanda from Eye on the Target Radio. You can find them at eyeonthetargetradio.com. You can also find their training stuff at RealizeFAC.com. And we will talk to you guys hopefully on a round trip.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome. All right, cool. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Let's hope for a round trip. Otherwise, I'm walking.
Walking with Charlie.